Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing today? Good, good. Well, welcome. Appreciate you coming today. Make sure I stay away from that mic. I kind of walk around, so just acknowledge that I will be walking around. I have a tendency, you feel so far away. If you have any questions, feel free to ask during the presentation as well. I'm more than happy to answer them as well. But there is also a time at the end for questions that you may have at the end of the presentation. So what we're really going over is kind of what I'm majority responsible for is the nursing home and the assisted living facility that we kind of take a lot of pride in our services and what we offer to our residents here and the services that our staff continue to provide. But before you kind of know what our services are or what we kind of do, we are the most regulated industry in the entire world, actually. Over nuclear power plants, over everything else, we have about 27 regulatory bodies that see us on a day-to-day basis to make sure we are meeting regulatory compliances. And that really has to do with a lot of things that has taken place in the past. During the 80s and 90s, nursing homes gave a lot of substandard care. You know, when you see videos and movies back in the day, people were chained the hallways and stuff like that. That's the perception that was given back in the day. So that's really kind of changed, and especially with regulatory changes, we have very, very specific rules and regulations that we are required to meet. And we take those very seriously, and we're very transparent, and we'll kind of go over some of those in our presentation of where we are at and what we compare to everybody else. But it's not like that anymore. It's not like, let me say, I've never seen that before, but that's the perception that was always given. So, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, it's CMS. There's not two M's, there's just CMS. I don't know why they did that, but it is what it is for that. They are a federal oversight. They're responsible for all the federal rules and regulations. I don't know if you've seen, but I will talk about the new federal rules and regulations that's actually coming out, and we should have the final rule for staffing that's brand new to our industry that's going to kind of go across the nation for staffing, and I'll touch upon that later. The enforcers, majority of the time, are what we call for the Agency for Healthcare Administration. They are the enforcers of our federal rules, but then we have what ACA is our state rules and regulations. So we have federal rules and regulations from CMS, and then we have state rules and regulations from CMS. Sometimes they compete with each other, sometimes they don't, but we have to follow both rules and regulations. What that means is sometimes the state rule is more regulated than the federal rule, and sometimes the federal rule is more regulated than the state rule. We have to decipher which rule to follow at that given time. And that sometimes is really difficult because they counteract each other sometimes. So we have to really make decisions, and that's kind of the job I have sometimes of going which rule we're going to follow to the highest extent, and we really try to do. So we have the feds, what we call is CMS. We have the state, which is the Agency for Healthcare Administration, and they do all of our annual surveys, complaint surveys, life safety surveys. They are responsible for those type of surveys. Then we have the Department of Health. In the nursing, to go back real quick, there is no federal oversight in assisted living, only in nursing home. And the state of Florida, ACA, is responsible for all the oversight in assisted living settings. Does that make sense? Then we have Department of Health. They do all of our kitchen inspections, life safety, group homes, biomedical waste, pharmacy licensures. They check all those services for our nursing home and our assisted living facility. Then we have Department of Children and Families. Any allegations of abuse, neglect, exploitation, we report those. They have a portal and have phone call in. And if we ever have an allegation of abuse, we're required to report it within 2 hours. Doesn't matter if it's during the weekdays, weekends, on a holiday, whatever the time is, we report that. We have a requirement to report in 2 hours. We have Department of Elder Affairs. And because I've had in CCRC, OSHA, I'd put that in there as well. But that's just 6 of the main 27 of the regulatory agencies that oversee us on a regular basis. We have we're going to go into the assisted livings. We have what we call a standard license, which every assisted living you will see. And then we have the 3 other licensures, and these are what we call specialty license. And we have the specialty license of extended congregate care, which I'll talk about later on. What ALF looks like. 1.5 million residents are currently living in assisted living across the nation. We're going to continue to see it double and grow. Currently, right now, we've seen a deduction from after Hurricane Irma from 2017 to 2021. We saw deductions in assisted livings closing because they weren't able to keep up with the new generator rules and regulations. Mom and pops were closing. Around 2021, a lot more residents wanted to go into assisted livings and nursing homes, so we saw a lot of these hotel-based assisted livings, especially around here, you can see started popping up. And so we actually seen a big increase in assisted livings. There are 30,000 in the United States, 2,400 assisted livings in the state of Florida, and 86 just in Volusia County itself. So a lot of assisted livings are popping up. And they can range from one bedroom or one house, one resident, and there's some up to over 200 as well in Volusia County. The average resident is an 85-year-old female. Like you can see, the guys, we don't do very well, maybe just not live as long, but it's 1-to-7 ratio in assisted living. So that is the average. So every male, there's 7 females inside of assisted living. And the average stay of a resident is 1.75 years in assisted living. Wish it was longer, but that's kind of the average. And I think that number has dropped year to year, and what we're seeing is a lot of the residents are not moving in when they should. They have like a catastrophic event and they go into assisted living, where if they would move a little bit earlier into assisted living, we can kind of offset that because we have that 24-hour care. We can monitor our physician that we can always call. So if they go into that setting, we can be able to kind of monitor them a little bit, where we're continuing to see more of a catastrophic event that's brought them into the nursing home or brought them into the assisted living. What we have here, our ratio is 1-to-8 at JKV. We are kind of seeing a little bit of increase, but majority of our residents come from John Knox Village, but we have seen an increase from outside of our community. Some of that has to do with kind of the pricing, and we'll talk about that, how much more we're competitive in some of the areas, and I'll explain that to you down a couple slides from now. Our average census for the last couple of years is 44. We have 46 residents, and we're expecting another 2 this month, so we should be around 47, 48, depending on somebody moves out or not, with an occupancy rate of 94, and our average age is 90 years old. The who's who, Amanda Tucker is the administrator. Lindsay Curtis is the resident care coordinator, or kind of the DON of that. And Jackie Martinez is the administrative assistant. She's up front. She's been here for 10 plus years. She kind of knows what everything's going on. And I've also added their extensions. Feel free to give them a call. I also have a sheet up here when we're done. Feel free to sign up. I'll be more than happy, or our staff, to take you on a tours. Not that you need those services, but we'd love to take you on the assisted living just to see what it is, what it looks like. I've heard a lot of people especially say, hey, I've never been to MO or haven't walked around MO. I'll be more than happy to take you on a tour of MO as well. And feel free to sign up so I can give those tours. This is kind of our growth over the last year for our census. Last year around this time, we were sitting around 34, 32, give or take. We've really seen an increase, especially during the cool months, and have gone up to about 45, 46 for the last couple of months, and we're expected to continue to see that grow. Right now we have no one-bedroom apartments, but we have studio apartments that are available. So our assisted living was also the old nursing home that was built in the 1980s, so we kind of convert them. So they're very baseline assisted living. And there's some very big pros, and there's some little bit of cons that come to that, and we'll discuss that. It's 60 licensure bed, but 49 apartments. We have a couple couples that live into that area, or live in the assisted living. They normally live in one-bedroom apartments. 49 apartments, 18 of them are the studio apartments on the 100 hallway, and the 31 apartments are on the 200 and 300. 16 on the 200 and 15 on the 300. So our standard license is pretty much going to provide meals, dietary, basic ADL support and care, and kind of the standard licensures, standard care that's provided in assisted living across the country or in the state of Florida. We're one of very few facilities that have what we call extended congregate care license. It's a specialty license. And our goal is ultimately to age in place, our residents to age in place. Instead of going to a nursing home or going to other levels of care, they can stay within our assisted living for a longer period of time because we have this extended congregate care license. we're able to provide additional service such as colostomy, ostomy, oxygen management, wound care inside of an assisted living, where other residents in other assisted livings would have to go to the nursing home until they're healed up from a wound, or if they receive an ostomy or colostomy, they'd have to find an ECC license to be able to live in back into assisted living. Now for us, a resident can live in our assisted living for a longer period of time if they need those type of services. On our side, it causes a lot more surveys for Agency for Healthcare Administration, because you have a standard license, they come out and do surveys, and they come out for the extended congregate care every 6 months, Agency for Healthcare Administration, because of that specialty license. Basic layout, our studio, I've seen residents really imaginative of what they did with their apartments. It's actually incredible what they can do with their apartments for a studio. It looks very roomy, but the baseline of their apartments is they have 2 closets, kitchenette, a full-size bathroom, and a resident's normally layout is normally like a queen-size bed, could be a little bit larger, a recliner chair, dresser, and a nightstand is kind of the baseline of a studio apartment, but some other residents are able to fit a lot more. I've seen a couch in there. I've seen other types of things inside of the apartments. They can kind of change it to whatever, like, we want to make it as home-like as possible. So if you have pictures and so forth, we're more than happy to help assist and put those up and try to make it look like as home-like as possible for you. 1 bedroom is obviously pretty much 2 studios put together. It has a living room they walk into, and then they have a full-size bedroom, and they have much more closet space and a lot more area for storage. And normally they do the living room and then do the bedroom. Our dining experience, we have a registered dietitian that she oversees all of our food services. She's been here for 25 years, but she oversees the nursing home and the assisted living and make sure we have the correct diets to meet the nutritional needs of our residents. We have, fortunate for us, instead of other facilities where they just they plate them and then bring them to whatever area that the residents are eating, we have what we call satellite kitchens where we can keep it hot until the resident is able to eat, and then we make those plated meals at that locations. There's a select menu, then there's an always available option, and then there's an a la carte where you can pick other items as well for the residents that live in that area. We also provide nourishments and snacks as well. Nursing services, this is kind of this baseline. We always have 24 hours, they're around the clock, they're there for our residents. And we staff about 1:8 ratio, which is very high for assisted living. Normally it's about 1:15, 1:16, we're 1:8, so we almost double the ratio. We provide medication management as our baseline. You do not have to receive that service, but majority of residents elect to do that. We make sure that you always have medications. When a hurricane comes, we do all the reordering. If you go out to a physician, have you change, we'll make sure we change that for the residents. Kind of worrying about making sure that we will go to anywhere, whatever pharmacy to get that medication for you and make sure you have that medication for yourself. Appointment scheduling, we really try to bring in much services in-house so the resident doesn't have to go out. So if you need a podiatrist, dermatologist, and so forth, we try to have them services in-house. But if you do elect to go out and go see a physician because you had them for 30 years, which we hear all the time, we're more happy to set up appointments. We'll also set up transportation. And then when you need to go revisit, we'll make sure we set up those appointments and those transportation as well. Kind of the all service thought that you don't have to kind of keep track. We will help you keep track of those type of services that are needed, especially for medical care. Then we have the additional nursing services for ECC services that we offer. That's normally done by a LPN or RN. And then you can also elect to have home health services. We're very fortunate here. So we have our home health. So if we identify a resident maybe needs assistance, or they're getting frail, or they're having issues with balance, we can bring in home health and do PTO, TST inside of our assisted living as well, to strengthening or help totaling. Even though we have assistance there, it provides additional help and support. Our personal care assistants, like I said, the 1:8 ratio, they provide ADL care, assistance with showers, laundry, light housekeeping, cleaning out, trash removal, meal reminders, appointments, pretty much all of that as well. And pretty much staff at nursing standards right now. Life enrichment program, we've changed a couple of things. We're really trying to increase the amount of activities that we have. We also increased the resident council, so they meet every month now. We kind of have them direct kind of what services and what other activities they would like to see. But we have outings, and we have social parties, anniversaries, or birthday parties as well, celebrations. Other features, we have weekly housekeeping, laundry services, sitting TV, to name a few, 24 hours security, which you're used to, maintenance assistant, home health, and we still have the Oak Park services that are offered. So this is new for us in our assisted living. We actually implemented this about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. We put a wandering devices on all of the doors. They kind of all connect with each other. So if you're going into the 100, 200, 300, all the doors have what we call wandering devices and have wearables. And you'll see kind of, it's almost like a Fitbit look to them, what residents would wear. And it's to alert our staff if a resident's approaching the door and so forth. Why we put that in here is that we have tons of residents that meet all the physical needs of living in an assisted living or living out in the community, but have cognitive barriers where they're not safe to live in their community and so forth. So instead of going into a nursing home setting, we really are trying to focus on them coming into assisted living setting to kind of preserve the higher level of their lifestyle instead of going into a nursing home. So we put these wearables. Now we do assessments to make sure that they're appropriate. We want to make sure that they're not wander risk. We'll do all these type of things to make sure they're risk, but we wanted to provide additional services for our residents, and one of the ideas was to put a wander guard system on all the hallways of our assisted living facility. And how we know is that our staff carries pagers around. I know the pager's about from 25 years ago, but that's kind of what everybody uses still to this day, and alerts of when the pager goes off, which resident is going off, and there's also a wall panel and an alarm that goes off as well. So being receptive to that. So one of the most requested items I got is, what is our pricing? This is our pricing. It is, for our studio, it's $5,271. One bedroom is $6,473, and for a couple living in our one bedroom is $10,798. Now, those are look very pricey, but in comparison, we don't have what we call a level of care. If you go to a lot of the other assisted livings, if not all the other assisted livings, they'll have what we call a level of care, and it's certain requirements. So like, they might have a baseline price. We went to another facility local, it was $4,800 for a studio apartment. If you get med management, you automatically kicked into a level of care, which is an additional $1,000 a month. And then if you need assistance, like a one-person assist, it might kick you into another level. If you have a two-person assist, it might kick you into another level. We don't have any of those services. What you pay is pretty much how long you're in our assisted living for. So if your level continues to decline, there's no additional cost to those services. We went to the facility I was talking about, 4,800. For once, if you get to a level 5, overall, it's an additional $4,000 a month on top of their 4,800. So you're spending about $8,800 a month just living into assisted living. Very expensive in price. So ours is the flat rate, and it includes everything for the care. So that is kind of, we don't have those level of cares and so forth. So when you're looking at assisted livings, a lot of times there's a lot of cost that goes with it behind, and that's some of it. Any questions? What we accept is private pay. We also do aid in attendance. Aid in attendance, if you served or your spouse served, and even if your spouse passed away, you can still be able to receive benefits through aid in attendance, the VA, for living in assisted living. If a spouse had served and one day during wartime and you're still here, it's up to, I think it's $1,500, and two spouses that served is up to $3,600, give or take $3,400, something around there currently for the aid in attendance. And then we also accept long-term care insurance as well. Once you have the benefit triggers, which we'll talk about, those will kick in, and we can also accept more as well. So we are ranked the #1 nursing home in the state of Florida. A question I get is, how is that determined? A lot of that statistics, resident care, triggers, and so forth like that takes place. But what through Nursing Home Compare, which is the CMS website, if you want to go on to that. There's three major things they look into, and that is our staffing requirements, our health inspection scores, so how we do in health inspection, which we'll talk about, and our quality measures. Those are the three major ones from CMS that determines your star ratings. Demographics of a nursing home. There's currently 15,000 nursing homes nationwide, and there's 693. We have seen 5 nursing homes close in the state of Florida this past year. So we are seeing nursing homes close. 93% of nursing homes are in the red currently right now. So they're not making money. And through the state of Florida, they opened up what we call a certificate of need because they need more nursing homes built in the state of Florida, and especially in certain counties where populations continue to increase from residents moving to Florida. They need more nursing homes, and we're actually seeing that where there is a need for additional nursing homes. And there's 29 nursing homes in Volusia County. We are expected, like I said, especially in Florida, to see it grow nationwide, especially with the baby boomers coming into play. We're going to continue to see nursing home residents continue to pick up. And if you are above the age of 65, you're 70% chance of moving in or have a stay inside of a nursing home at this current time. 83% of our residents are older than 65, which shows that a lot of our residents living in nursing home are actually getting younger because there's nowhere else to go. So we're seeing a lot of paraplegics and quadriplegics and so forth like that in nursing homes nationwide as well increase. And the ratio is 1 male to 3 females. For us, we are 1.4, so every 1.4 residents over at Majestic Oaks is 1 community resident, is currently the statistic. About 70% of our residents are above the age of 85. So majority of our residents are well above 65. 70% are above 85. Our average age at Majestic Oak is 88. And we're a 150-bed nursing home with 114 private rooms. And of those 18 semi-private rooms, they're actually the same size as our private rooms. They just share a full-size bathroom. That is really the only difference inside of the bathrooms. One of the best features, and I know not everybody, but it was very excited to come here for me, is I was used to only having 2 showers at each end of the hallway for my last location. So a resident would have to be kind of brought down to the end of the hallway, take a shower, and then come back. Here, every single room has a full-size bathroom. So dignity-wise, you can stay in your own room, take a shower, and feel comfortable if you needed those services, which is really nice to have. So each one has a full-size bathroom. Right now, 9 of our 10 hallways are open. We are looking at starting the remodel shortly for the remodel for the entire nursing home. We were board approved, and we were approved by the Agency for Healthcare Administration to start our remodeling project. So that's why the last hallway is closed at this current time. And we plan on starting on the 200 hallway. And I'll talk shortly about that at the end of this presentation as well. And we were probably the largest memory care with 45 of we have dedicated memory care resident rooms on our memory care out of 150. So we are a very large memory care population. So here's the who's who of the Majestic Oaks. And with their extensions as well, feel free to call them at any time. But Kenny Rodriguez is the new administrator, started this month. Amanda Vasquez is the director of nursing. She started 10 plus years ago as a night LPN and has worked her way up and got her BSN and so forth, become the director of nursing at Majestic Oaks. Tina Massari is a CDM. She's been here for 10 plus years. Sheila Joseph is the registered dietitian. She's been here for over 25 years. Lucia is our admissions coordinator. So if you ever have admissions or your friend or you have any questions, she's the first person to contact if you have any questions, especially for tours or need anything, is Lucia. She's kind of coordinates everything she knows who's being admitted, discharging, or can give you the appropriate paperwork. Patricia Queso is the therapy director. She's been here for 10 years. Jose is the housekeeping manager. Andrea Silvi is our Alzheimer's manager, or kind of our life enrichment director over at the Majestic Oaks. And Jermaine Wood is the business office. So if you have any questions about billing and so forth, you can talk to Jermaine. She's about to celebrate her 25-year anniversary for our next presentation as well. So a lot of tenured staff at Majestic Oaks in the department head role. The basic services of MO, of pretty much of majority of nursing homes, are these services right here. What we see, pretty much ADL help and so forth, every single nursing home. We're continuing to see nursing homes pick up higher and a higher acuity level across the board. When I started, we received a lot of hip replacement, knee replacements. That's not happening anymore. It's an outpatient procedure. They're going home with home health. That's kind of what we're seeing now. Now we're seeing higher acuity levels into the nursing homes. Residents with trachs, residents with severe comorbidities that are not safe to go home are coming to our facility, where we would normally see really rehab residents. It's kind of, we're seeing residents with major falls and having multiple, hip, knees all at once at one time, where they're really kind of learning to walk again. And that's kind of what we're seeing in our nursing homes as the acuity level. They're not, they're staying at hospitals longer than they come into us, where they would normally be maybe a hospital resident, they're coming into a nursing home. So we're seeing a really big change, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. Because when COVID happened, a lot of people didn't want to be in nursing homes. So they're only coming when it's really severe in the nursing homes. These are additional services provided. Like I said, we have a lot of people that come to MO and Oakview Suites. Our goal is for residents not to go out, so they can stay in their houses. Of course, some things are not able to provide in-house, but these are kind of some of the services that are within house. We have our own wound care physicians that come, medical physician that comes. They're called 24 hours a day. We have x-ray and lab services. Normally, if we can get that within an hour, we have a stat, so we call that in. They're gonna come within an hour to do those services, and we can get them as quick as possible. Hearing service, vision services, and we have a pharmacist. We have what we call like polypharmacy, where a resident takes a lot of medications. They review all the residents' medications. Our pharmacist, to make sure that those residents, we can reduce hopefully medications or titrate them down, or what we call gradual dose reduction for some of those medications as well. Yes?
You stated that more and more the people are tending to have comorbidities, learning to walk, joint replacement, etc. But I don't see any physical therapy services.
Oh, I have a rehab slides coming up ahead. Yeah, yes, ma'am. So this is, next slide. So we also provide rehabilitation services. We do a lot under Part A. We also do a lot under Part B as well. But this is kind of basic physical therapy focuses, such as bed mobility, transfers, ambulation, endurance, those type of programs. If you have any issues, this is occupational-based therapies, such as bed mobility, transfer. Oh, my bad. There's a difference between those two. I have slide, must have accidentally duplicated those. And then speech therapy. So what you normally see for occupational is toileting, transfers, daily life type of things, such as using a stove or along those lines. And then speech is a lot of times cognition, swallowing. We do swallow studies in-house and so forth to make sure that, so those are kind of the 3 major therapy components that we have inside of a nursing home. I know I didn't, did I answer? Okay. So this is a normal stay within a nursing home. This is kind of the baseline of what you should expect, and we can touch upon this a little bit longer than other slides. Normally when a resident's coming from a hospital, that's where we probably get 99% of our admissions are from the hospital. If not, they're coming from a home, and we get what we call 3008 and the resident comes. Majority of the time it's coming from a hospital with a 3-night stay. First day is admission to Majestic Oaks, and you ask, why is that the first day? Well, because a lot of times our discharges from the hospital come in anywhere between 4 p.m. to about 9 p.m. at night. That's when the majority of ours. When the last physician's round at the hospitals, that's where we're getting them, is later at night is when we're getting the discharges. So we really don't start that until day 2. On day 2, we do evaluation. We try to get PT, OT, ST in there. You might not need all those services through your stay, but we'll have at least do evaluation of all 3 services, hopefully by day 2. Day 3, we start therapy daily, 30 to 60 minutes per service. starting all the way through your stay, hopefully in a rehab stay. Our goal, especially at JKV residents, is before 3 days, is to do what we call a home evaluation. When we do a home evaluation, we're gonna go check out the room. Do you need any additional grab bars? Do you have rugs in your room? Is there steps to get into your house? Those type of things we're looking into, because when we do discharge planning, sometimes the person has 1, 2, or 3 steps. Maybe we need to work on steps, on getting up and down those to do strengthening, to get upstairs. Do you have a walk-in tub? Do you have to put your foot over for this tub? Do you need DME equipment? We're looking at all those type of services for our home evaluation to make sure you're safe to go home in that environment, and we will work on those goals if needed. Then we get a cut letter about 3 days before, so you would know kind of, hey, this is when we plan on cutting services, contacting families, making sure every safe discharge, setting up transportation for discharge. And then normally when we discharge, it doesn't stop there, but now we have home health come in there and we start PTO, T, and ST services if needed in the home-like environment. That's kind of the baseline of a stay. And with our average stay around 16, 17 days at a nursing home. So this is Majestic Oaks overall star rating currently right now. We're 5-star overall with 5 stars in health inspection, 4 stars in staffing, and 4 stars in quality measures. And then the Agency for Healthcare Administration has their star rating as well. And it's 5 across the board besides administration. And the reason why the administration is a 4 star is because of the change of administrators. So for 2023 and 2024, we had our annual inspections in January of 2023. There was no findings at all, which is kind of unheard of in our industry, and that was in back-to-back surveys. We had 3 complaint surveys in 2023, in July, August, and September of that year. There was no findings in any of those surveys that they did as well. And our annual window is wide open. So every year, their goal is to do what we call an annual survey. We are about 15 months right into that survey. They're supposed to have it within 9 to 15 months. So we're kind of right at that baseline of going well over that annual survey, which is kind of the norm right now. I've heard the normal annual survey is around 17, 18 months right now. And really that was slowing down by COVID as well. I'm sure you weren't expecting me to talk about COVID so much after 4 years, but it still impacts our industry. Yeah, probably will never go away. We also are accredited by Joint Commission. We had ours in June of 2022. We are expecting possibly as early back as December 2024, so we're preparing for our Joint Commission surveys as well. And then we have Department of Health, and our inspections went well for there as well with no findings. So, health inspections, how are they determined to be like a 5-star rating of what you've seen? Well, it's a little complicated, but the first year it's fully weighted as a half total. So if you get, there's a point scale. If you get certain tags are worth, what we call like a D tag is worth 4 points, right? It's a little confusing, but it is weighted at that first year at half, so it would be worth a total of 2 points. And then let's use 6 because the math makes it easier. So let's say it's worth 6, so it would be worth 3 points in the first year. In year 2, that would be equivalent to 2 points. And in year 3, that would be that 6 points that you received 3 years ago, that's equivalent to 1 point in year 3, and then in year 4, it completely drops off of the point system. This is the last 3 years. April to March, you'll see 23 to 2024, 2022 to 2023, and 2021 to 2022, kind of descending order. We have a total of 1 deficiency that was equivalent to 4 points. Weighted for the whole entire 3 years is a 0.067. In comparison, we are well below the 5-star rating. It's all the way up to 10 points for 5-star. We are well below that at 0.67. Next year we'll drop off and be completely 0 if we didn't have any, which is kind of unheard of in our industry. I can't express, I've never seen that low of a score in my entire career. That is very low overall for health and findings. It's very impressive. Like I said, a 3-star can get it all the way up to almost 40 points and still be a 3-star facility in health inspections. So then there's staffing. Staffing is continuing to change a lot, and we'll talk about the staffing rule shortly. But what they measure total staffing is our RN and LPN ratios. Then they also, the large measure on is weighted on RN staffing, registered nursing. And that is kind of really the biggest weight. Now they're also impacting nursing turnover and administrative turnover, which they should, is weighted. And all this is reported through what we call PBJ, not peanut butter and jelly, but payroll-based journalism. So we submit on a quarterly basis reports to CMS that shows our staffing ratios for each one of those. And they receive the reports, decipher all of that, and be able to make our star rating off of our staffing. This is our current staffing ratio. So you can be able to see the national average compared to the Florida average to the Majestic Oaks, what we are averaging. So we average 4 hours and 24 minutes per patient day of nursing services. So if in a 24-hour period, 4 hours and 24 minutes are accounted for per resident for nursing care at Majestic Oaks, which is very, very high staffing ratio. Of that 4 hours and 24 minutes, 47 of minutes are RNs, 55 are LPNs, and 2 hours and 42 minutes per day per nursing aides. The requirement for the state of Florida is 2 hours a day. So we're well above those requirements, and it's 1.0, so equivalent to 1 hour of RNs and LPNs combined is the minimum staffing ratios for the state of Florida. And then the weekend. So weekend's not much of a drop-off as well, so it's good. So if you're paying attention to the news, it was just published yesterday. The new CMS staffing mandate, this is hot off the press kind of in a way. You'll know before everybody else does because this is just really came off. We're expected to get the final rule on May 10th, but what we know as of right now is that you're going to have a minimum per day of 0.55 hours. So about 33 minutes required per day per resident for RN hours, 2.45 hours of direct care, so about 2.5 hours of dietary aids is required, and the total for RN, LPNs, and CNAs is required of 3.48 hours, so about 3.5 hours per day of that requirement. We're meeting all those requirements from the CMS rules. In the United States alone, 4 out of 5 nursing homes are not meeting those requirements currently right now. So there's going to be a huge, huge change in nursing homes across the nation that are required to meet this rule within the next 2 years. And we're meeting those, but 4 out of 8 right now are not meeting those rules. And then 24/7 RN staffing. So quality measures is what they're looking at. This is a little confusing, so I'll break it down. These are all the quality measures for short stay that the state CMS looks at. The ones in black are the only ones that matter. They change them up sometimes to us, but those are the ones in black are what they weighted on to determine how are you doing at your facility in comparison to everybody else and give you those star ratings. Those are for the short stay. The ones with asterisk, there's a difference. And I know I'm going into the weeds a little bit, but the asterisk ones are what we call, I apologize, I have brain fart for a second. They're the ones that are based off of pay or claims-based measures. So if you go to the hospital and you said you were a readmission to a hospital, it's a claim-based. We know they were readmitted to the hospital. The goal right now is a real push when you go to a nursing home to keep them at a nursing home so they're not going back at the hospital and continue, really goes back to pay and how much it costs for medical care, but rehospitalization, emergency department visits, and successful community discharges. So when you go to a facility, claims-based wise, you go to a nursing home, your goal is to stay, let's say, 20 days, you get home discharged safely. Their goal is for you not to go in the next 10 days back to the hospital. That would be a successful community discharge. Does that make sense? And then the rest are what they're measuring for short stay. They do not want to see a resident come into the facility and all of a sudden get pressure ulcers. Same way with long-term. So they break it down short stay, which is kind of like rehab, and then the long stay, which would be like a long-term resident. This is the current rates at Majestic Oaks for a nursing home. Private pay right now is $362 a day. That is what you would pay to come into the facility and just be room, board, and food services if you're outside resident. Rehab services, if you want a PTO TST, it's $560 a day. And the temporary nursing stay, that is per the contract life care residence, that includes additional meals and services, is $65 a day. And our memory care, because of additional staffing and services and activities, is for semi-private is $83 a day, and the daily private surcharge is $116. And that's pretty much in line with majority of nursing homes through the state. These are all of the insurances we accept. Just because you might not have that insurance on there, or I say we don't accept that, does not mean we can't accept you. Since you live in a community such as ours, we can, because go to your home nursing home, we can be able to make sure that you come to our facility. It might take a little bit of fight on our side or a little bit of effort on our side, but we will make sure you come to our nursing home, and we will sign a one temporary contract for you to come into our nursing home if you're not part of one of those services. But a lot of these organizations are trying to get them go to what their preferred providers are and so forth. Obviously, if you live in JKV, you would probably want to go to Majestic Oaks if you're receiving services. So on the left is a Medicare stay, if eligible, so you meet the certain requirements to stay in a nursing home. Day 1 through 20, there is no copay or cost of being inside of a nursing home. Day 21 through 100 are what we call co-insurance days, and those are $204 a day after day 21. And what we call like a recycling, so forth. If you go for a hip replacement and you stay in a nursing home for, let's say 20 days, after 60 days of being at home, you recycle and you start from day one again for Medicare, if that makes sense. Okay? Now we have what we call Medicare Advantage plans. Every plan is different. You need to do your research on kind of what plans and what you're looking for. And that nursing home is much different, majority of times, nursing home stay, compared to what Medicare is. Now, in network for like Humana, we have a lot of requirements where we have to do. Sometimes 1, 2, 3 times a week, we're required to send reports of how you're progressing or how the resident's progressing. What they're looking for is pretty much what their main diagnosis you went into that nursing home for. Let's say you went in for, keep it easy, like a hip replacement. They're really looking at that hip replacement and go, how's that progressing? Are you walking 50 feet? Are you walking 100 feet? What we're looking at is the whole resident. What other comorbidities do you have? What other concerns you have? Are your blood pressure through the roof? Are you having issues with breathing? They're really looking just at that hip replacement. So we think you might need to stay longer. They're looking at trying to discharge you as quick as possible. So those are kind of some of the factors of going with a Medicare Advantage plan, especially in-house. Where in Medicare, we have a little bit more, you meet this criteria, we stay longer. We want to make sure that you are going to be successful when going home. Because last thing we want is you to continue to go back and forth from hospital, nursing home, back to the hospital, to home, to back to the hospital. That's what nobody wants and is unsuccessful. And then we have out network, and that some type of those things is that it could start immediately. Those co-pays may start immediately and so forth like that, and that all deciphers. I've seen anywhere from $150 to $300 a day, depending on whatever that Medicare Advantage plan is set up for. So, I was asked to talk about this is long-term care insurance benefits. What we're looking for long-term care is really kind of what we call benefit triggers, and we'll talk about a little bit about that. Benefit triggers are pretty much on their right-hand side is the 6 ADLs. What they're looking for is the 2 triggers of those ADLs for long-term care to trigger benefits. So you would need 2, like bathing and eating, for that to trigger, or toileting and dressing for those to trigger, or you can have more than that. Those are what they're looking for, benefit triggers to trigger to make sure for long-term care insurance to kick into place. Also, cognitive impairment. So if you have a cognitive impairment, that doesn't require any ADLs. You might be physically capable, but mentally, there might be cognition barriers. You can automatically trigger for that, since if you're moving into a memory care center or so forth like that. So what you're looking for the benefit triggers is 2 ADLs out of the 6, or cognitive impairment. Elimination period for these long-term care insurance is kind of like a deductible measured on time. They want you to go into a facility, possibly, some start immediately, but a lot of them would go into a facility, you receive 30 days or 60 days or 100 days, depending on whatever services are, before your long-term care insurance kicks into place. And that is kind of the elimination period. Does that make sense? See a couple head nods. If you ever have any questions, I'm more than happy to sit down and go through that policy as well and discuss that. So Majestic Oaks remodel. The design and scope is completed of what we're doing. We have went to the state and got approval. We are pretty much in the process of purchasing a lot of that equipment stuff, figuring out storage, logistics, and everything associated with that portion, because we're purchasing a lot of stuff for the remodels. I'll give you an example. In a resident room, we're going to be replacing all the flooring. You can kind of see the flooring up front here. It's a nice microfiber material that's hyperallergenic. It doesn't create bacterial buildup. It's kind of specialized flooring for healthcare settings. It also has long wear time on it. The only thing that stains it, and get this, is kind of strange, is French mustard is the only thing that stains it. French mustard. I don't know what it is, but something in the French mustard stains that carpet. Not blood or anything else like that, just French mustard. And when we clean up the carpet, all we need is water. There's no soap, there's no bleach or dye or anything. It's just water to clean up that carpet. It's a very nice carpet, and you can kind of feel the material up here if you would like. So we're going to be putting that flooring throughout the facility. It's very nice flooring inside of it, and it's kind of where we even put the microfiber basis inside of each resident room as well. So sound reductions will be quieter in the resident rooms, safer, cleaner inside of each resident room. The lightings will be all fixed as well, or not fixed, it's not broken. Will be changed out as well for lighting. All the beds, we're going to buy what we call a core of beds. They're pretty much beating the competition in hospital things. They have certain points. They can kind of turn into a couch setting. They also have no pressure relief area, so you won't have where we see like a lot of the buttocks and everything else like that, where that would pressure be. These beds prevent that from happening. They also go all the way to the floor. It's only 4 inches from the floor on low bed, where average is 8 or 12 inches. It goes all the way to the floor, only 4 inches from the floor. So if a resident, say, fall out of bed or tries to get out of bed, it's only a 4-inch fall. These beds are the top of the line out here. They also have, it's the only one I've ever seen that has wood paneling around it to kind of make it look like a home-like setting bed as well. So they're going to be beautiful beds inside of Majestic Oaks. All new dressers, nightstands. Every room will have a power recliner as well. All private rooms will have a guest chair through the foundation. We're replacing all the ceiling tile, cornice boards, window shades and blinds, bedspreads, wainscoting. So on the back of the beds, where a lot of the rubs and so forth, we'll have a nice wainscoting on the back of that, so we don't have those tears and rips and so forth. Maintenance directors will be very happy about that. And we'll be changing out all the curtains. And that's kind of the baseline of what we will be changing out in the resident rooms. In the hallways, we'll be doing all the flooring, lighting, common area furniture. We'll be kind of creating designated space for residents. Redoing handrails and cornice boards and corner guards as well for all the hallways. We will be redoing the nurses and CNA stations, which really the staff are going to be ecstatic about that, and redoing all the drawers. And we'll be doing all new artwork for the entire building as well. That's kind of the baseline of what we're going to be doing inside of Majestic Oaks remodel. Any questions? Yes, we do. So we have somebody ready to get started on that. We're really just waiting for all the product to start showing up. We're going to be using Olin for that as well. And we are expected, so the building is 93,000 square feet, and we'll be redoing about 65,000 square feet of the building, 70,000 square feet of the building. So it's a very large undertaking. We plan on going each hallway. We'll start at 200 hallway, go to 100 hallway, move up to 800 hallway, 9, 10, 11, do 700 hallway, kind of convert that into a semi-memory care center, and then do 3, 4, 500 rotating. So the whole hallway will be shut down. We should be able to get it done much quicker doing that way than having it in resident areas. So the hallways will be completely shut down, kind of create barriers, help with filtration systems and so forth, so that we can kind of designate those areas, do a whole hallway, move the residents into that hallway, do their old hallway and move them back if they elect to do that into that hallway, and kind of repeat that pattern for all 10 hallways. That's kind of the idea behind the remodel. Yes? Once we get started, we expect it to be about a full year, or 12 months to 14 months is our expectations. Now that's given us some cushion, is what we expect, because we don't know what we're going to find behind anything that's, the building's 20 years old. Who knows what we find? Hopefully nothing. Hopefully nothing, because that might change the scope of work, and we'll have to go back and we'll lengthen that time. But our goal is for it to be about 12 to 14 months, give or take. Yes?
Are there any circumstances that you cannot take a patient in either long-term care or memory care because of something with their condition? Are there any conditions that you can't handle?
Our goal for anybody, especially in JKV, is that our goal is to take every single resident that's a JKV resident and train our staff, do competencies and so forth like that. We haven't done a trach in a long time. We took a resident that had a trach inside of our facility. Now, if they need like continuous O2, where we don't have that service inside of our building, we can do up to a concentrator, up to 10 liters, but past that, we are not going to be able to meet that need because we don't have that service inside of our facility. But majority of the time, we will try to take them as best as possible, especially our own residents. I hope that answers the question. Kind of? Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, I appreciate your time. I also would love to take you on a tour. Not that you need those services or anything like that. If you'd like to sign up, I would, because I've heard people say I would like a tour of the assisted living or Majestic Oaks or whatever. We would love to set that up as well. So,
Mike, for those that are watching at home, how would they set up a tour? Should they call you?
they can shoot me an email, or get a hold of like Lucia or Amanda Tucker or myself, and we can try to set up a tour as well.
Could you put that slide up
Yes.
again so I can share that with them?
So this is for the nursing home. Lucia is the best person she's our admission coordinator. But you can contact any of those people if you really like, but Lucia or myself or Kenya would be wonderful for the tour. And Lucia's extension is 2011, and Kenny's is 2400. Mine is 1024, or 1032, I'm sorry, 1032. You know everybody else's extensions, you just forget your own extension sometimes, so 1032, oh, going the wrong way. And then for Oakview Suites is Amanda Delago. I apologize, she just got married, and her extension is 1500. So I need to change that name. She just got married a week or so ago. Or you can get a hold of Jackie Martinez at 1501. Any other questions? Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for attending.